What is up, guys, and welcome to the Nexus. Today we are here to ask the question, is Quinlan now top of the class? It has been getting some great results across the recent PQs, and we have our current expert in the deck, Frankie, with us to talk us through his version of the deck and how he enjoys the cards. So how you doing, Frankie?
Yeah, I'm good. You're doing me way too much justice on expert, but I might know how to throw some cardboard at people. Yeah, I'm good, mate. How you keeping?
Yeah, doing very well. Had a bit of frustration with getting this video together, but we are there. I'm 100% sure we're there now. Praying, because people need to see this video and to start playing this deck. So let's have a quick chat about your recent successes. So you've played a few of the PQs post Worlds. Do you want to just tell us how you've done so far?
Yeah, sure. So we've done the two Southern PQs. We've done Southampton, which was just over a week ago, where I managed to get top 8, which was great.
Excellent.
Sadly, lost to Vader Blue in top 8. Unfortunate one that was. And then this weekend just gone, we did Spellbound, our home field, where I managed to scrape into the finalist spot, losing 2-1 in the finals, which is obviously a little bit gutting, but I mean, I can't, hitting a final is always a good result, right?
Yeah, I mean, points on the board towards Worlds very early on in the season, so you've already made a decent dent into getting there. So without further ado, we're going to get into the deck list and have a little discussion on some of your choices.
Sure.
So first of all, the elephant in the room, the meme, Force Throw. How impactful is it in this deck? Because it seems to be one of the most feared cards in the current meta.
And you're right, it is a feared card in the current meta. It does do a lot of work. But weirdly in this list, it's a slightly awkward card to play. You've got such a powerful curve through this list of running really, really strong 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop straight into that 5-drop of Plo Koon, that playing the Force Throw can become a little bit of an awkward time frame. There are situations where you can go a second 2-drop to reiterate that ping and then play the Force Throw, but you're really banking on an Adigalia. It's the only way for you to turn it on early. You have got the Grogu, but for me, the Force Throw is a fantastic card. It's really, really good. But it's not a card that I'm spamming as early as possible. It's something that has to be timed and thought about through the hand manipulation to get really good value out of.
Very cool. I'm always going to mention it because I love the card so much. Hotshot Blaster, DL44. How effective is it in this deck? I know for me it's always been such a great card for value as well as getting that pump and dump sort of feel. How does it feel in this deck?
Such a good card. It's been a staple in every yellow list since it would come out, right? If I could, I'd be running 4 and 5 of it, if I'm honest. It's that good a card. It gives you hand advantage. It gives you a pump. And as everyone knows, these yellow and red heroism units, they've got quite high HP totals. So these are normally going to stick around when you're playing one of these from your smuggle row. So that does normally mean you're not only getting one swing, but possibly 2 or even 3 swings out of it. And that does a lot of added damage over time for sure.
Yeah, I mean, crazy value. I mean, Surprise Strike, what? I know you've got 2 in your deck, but that card is honestly one of my favorite cards in the game, I think, because it's so versatile.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so, I mean, on the hot shot, you actually have quite a lot of smuggle cards in this deck. You also have the L337, as well as, well, not quite a lot. Well, I guess quite a decent amount, almost 10%. Cassian as well. And in your sideboard, you have the large Falcon. Do you feel that the smuggle mechanic is an integral part of your build? Like it's important? Because obviously it's an older mechanic now. But do you think it's really helping the build thrive?
It might be an older mechanic, but in my opinion, it is the strongest mechanic in the game.
It's the best mechanic in the game.
It's such a good mechanic. I don't know what they're going to do if it gets rotated out completely. It's so good. It gives you card advantage. It gives you options. Because you think if you have 3 cards in your smuggle row, your hand size has gone up by 3. And you can choose to use that however you want to advantageously leverage the situation. And you're right to pick up on the smuggle cards in the sideboard because they are there because they are smuggleable. And the current meta makes them a really, really good pick, we think anyway. And when you're looking at these smuggle cards, they are cards that are saying you're going to pay a little bit more than the card's actual cost to get an added hand size. That is what it's doing. And the cards that we have picked to go into that smuggle slot are not just doing that, but you are getting added benefits from smuggling them out. Them going into your smuggle row are doing additional things by bringing them out, which is really good. L3, most people don't see it like that, but L3's got a really quite interesting interaction with Falcon. If you read Falcon carefully, comes in, enters play ready. So that capture mechanic and setting it free is quite unique. So it's a really good card to have down there for when you're in a pinch. But yeah, there's no way I'm dropping the smuggle cards out of this list completely. They are really key to the backbone of the deck, especially not running any hand draw. So it is a really, really cool mechanic.
Cool. An interesting main deck card, moving on swiftly, is Disabling Fang Fighter. Can you explain your reasoning behind having this in the main as opposed to the traditional sideboard?
Sure. I mean, even last set, I was playing Quinlan at the end of last set, trying to find my feet with it, really. And last set, Vader was everywhere, right? So you need to have an answer to Vader leader deploy. And Disabling Fang fills that role. Now, this set has seen probably an even more reason to have upgrade hate in main. You've got a lot of pilot leaders coming out, Vader and Boba probably being the 2 most popular. And then you've got loads of upgraded units that are just inherently running around in the meta, be it a secretive sage with a shield, be it the fallen lightsaber from all of these Mother Talzin lists, General's Blade, Jedi lightsaber. All of these things are working their way into lists. Even in my list in Quinlan, you're running the Hotshot Blasters, L3 has a shield. These are all things where you can get added value out of it. Even against Rey, pinging off 1 XP can be really quite crucial. You're paying 3 to remove 1 resource against Rey, and playing a 3/2 unit. So that's the equivalent of a 4/3 card, which is really weird to think of it like that, but that's the math you end up doing to justify it coming out for that turn. So yeah, there's not really much chance I'd want to be removing them anytime soon. And it catches people out having them in the main board. You do get a lot of people not expecting it to come down, and then all of a sudden the game's over because their leader has been confiscated or disabled in this way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very strong card, and people probably don't expect it game 1 generally, so having that surprise factor can often be the knife edge to win a game. So yeah, makes a lot of sense. So I noticed that a lot of the cards in this deck are, very low cost, and you have a lot of what would be sort of, you could say, is some of the traditional aggression aggro cards like Green Squadron, A-Wing, Sabine, Surprise Strike. What sort of field would you put this deck in? Would you say it's an aggro deck, or would you put it in the mid-range? Because obviously it's not a control deck.
Well, this is the thing with this list. Its power comes from the fact that it can be anything you want it to be. You can play it however you want to play it into any list you're facing. If you need to play control into something that is more aggressive, you can do that. And it's completely adequate at doing that. If not, it does a great job. Like it will outperform a lot of other lists that are doing direct damage. It will outperform even things like Bosk Green, which is considered soft control. It will out-control a Bosk Green, which is quite weird to think of. And then on the flip side of it, you are, as you just said, we're running a lot of low drops. We're running really strong, high-powered, low-cost units. And we do a lot of work with them. They, most of my units are swinging for 3 damage. So if you're running a normal base, that's 10 swings of 3, and that's game over. So it can get there quite quickly as well, especially with these pumps hidden away and the surprise strike. But realistically, it is a deck that fills many, many roles, and its versatility is its strongest function. You being able to choose how you want to play into each game you're playing just gives you that little bit of an advantage. Whereas if it was just to be played as fully aggro, I don't think you'd be seeing anywhere near as good results. If you're just playing it as purely soft control or mid-range, you wouldn't see as good results. Flexibility is the key to the list.
Do you think this is what, because a lot of people I've spoken to about this list seem to say that it basically has a 50-50 into everything. Would you say that's a fair sort of conclusion, or would you say it's actually better than that?
It's a fair conclusion, based on the fact I don't think it's very easy to pilot. I think it can be a tricky list to pilot based on how many choices you have. But yeah, it's not particularly. Every game isn't either it's an instant win. There are no instant wins with this list, but you're never counted out either. You can always play into the field. Most games, if you're confident on the list, you're feeling like it's a 55, maybe closer to 60. And then the worst matchup is probably looking around 40%. But even then, it's still winnable. Everything is winnable with this list, which is why I picked it. I like the fact that you're never counted out of the fight. It's down to the pilot, not the cards, which is great. Really good.
So when you say it's tricky to pilot, what would you say the main fundamental hurdle is when piloting this deck? If you could put your finger on one specific thing that needs to be the focus.
So when you look at any list that's running discard package, you need to know what you're trying to discard. You can't just outright throw discard cards in and hope you're going to hit something. You need to know, when are you going to spark? What are you trying to get rid of? When are you going to play Kira? What is the Kira trying to target and make bigger? The force row, as I've just mentioned, how are you sequencing all of these hand disrupts to make it so that force row is getting value and someone's not just going to toss away a salvage?
Yeah, so basically you need to have a sort of, to play this deck effectively, you need to have what they would say in other games as like opponent knowledge of how their decks operate and what cards they'll be looking to keep in hand for situations.
Exactly that. It's using the Gar Saxon ECL as an example. You need to know on 6 that you want, on 5 resources, that you want to play Spark. You really want to. That's the thing you need to do before you leave that phase. Otherwise, the ECL Vader is coming. Yeah. So that information, that you knowing the matchup and knowing what you're targeting, puts you a step ahead. And they don't have an answer for it. That's why the deck is that powerful. But also, you spark at the wrong time, you can put yourself into a sticky situation.
Yeah, where it's almost a wasted resources, etc. What about Red 5? So a lot of people have been raving about this card. Its effects seem to be very, very broken in Quinlan Vos specifically. Can you talk about this card a bit for me?
Yeah, for sure. It is a powerhouse of a card in Quinlan. Absolute powerhouse of a card. Way too many things that let you just trade up advantageously in. Even if you get everything you're playing, you have the ability to ping if you're playing within the correct sequencing. There are times where if you have a damage unit in space, it can trade out 5 health as well, which is quite interesting. Which is not how most people would utilize it, but I've done that a fair amount of times on this weekend. As you say, how it pairs with the Quinlan leader, it just does way too much work. That's why it's a free of in the list, and it's a unique card. A unique card doesn't normally get played as a free of that too often, but it's that good. A card to be unique and played as a free of, it has to be great, and this does fill that slot for sure.
All right, well, let's move on and have a look closer at some of the key cards that you've picked out in the deck, and and we will discuss how you use them. So, Deppa, you have told me she is goated.
Oh, she's so good.
Explain why you love this card. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's pretty obvious. 6 cost, 5/7, Ambush Saboteur, pretty broken.
Yeah, all the things that are good about the card, you have just literally said why they're good about the card. But when you then look at the nuances of what that means, it becomes even stronger. Ray flips on 6. and she comes out as a 2/6. So she deletes Ray with Quinlan ping, which is unpreventable if you're playing with, if you're structuring your play pattern correctly. If you do get caught out by a Vader, she directly answers Vader. But beyond, there is nothing they can do. She comes out. If they ECL the Vader and the Vader attack kills a unit, they shield second to mean that they still have the shield on. She's going to go straight through the shield. The ping will finish the Vader off. However you want to do it, it will work that way advantageously for you to bring you back into the fight. And also in Quinlan, that 6-drop slot, you only had the big Falcons, which have moved to the sideboard. She gives you another Jedi Force unit, another turn on for Force Throw. That's great in the later game. You was really heavily relying on Mace Windu at that point, or a Plo Koon trying to stick around. Whereas now she comes down as a threat that needs to be answered. And she's turning on Force Throw, which is incredible. And Saboteur, an underrated keyword. Especially with
Saboteur finishes so many games where people are just like, I didn't think about that.
Exactly. Kylo Ren ECL is a list that's running around and is becoming more popular. She is being deployed on 6, a turn ahead of Kylo. If they're not removing her, a Hotshot Blaster Depa is coming in for 7.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Which is pretty gross. Yeah, she's a good card.
So moving on, down to a 2-cost early game card, Land Speeder. Why is a 2/3 ambush one of your top cards?
I love the Land Speeder. At the moment, you've got way too many 2-drop shielded units. And most people's favourite play into playing against Quinlan is playing a 2-drop shielded unit. And saying, okay, cool, I get my unit for next turn. Not with the Land Speeder. The Land Speeder gets played, ping off the shield, ambush in, kills the unit, survives on 1, and you still have Tark in town. A lot of games, if that's happened, that's game over. That's finished on the first phase of the game. The other fact is it's a daring raid on legs. If you've got units that are kind of lying around that have got 2 HP, it's a finishing damaging unit. It's something that you can throw into something to make sure that you're changing the game state for 2 resources, which when you look at the Quinlan list, everything takes more than 2 resources to set up. If I want a Force Throw, my cheapest way of doing that is playing Adi Gallia for 2, Force Throw for 1, costing me 3 and 2 actions. This is an instant action, 2 damage to a unit on the floor, which changes every dynamic of the game.
Seems extremely strong. I mean, sometimes you can win the games early, like you say, and cards like this having the path to do that, that's getting behind against a deck like Quinlan is the last thing you want, especially when your hand's going to start getting ripped. It's you need to keep that board presence to even stand a chance. So, yeah, Land Speeder, it's a very nonchalant card. Let's say people wouldn't look at that and think, "Wow, that's amazing," but yeah,
it's underwhelming. It's underwhelming when you look at it.
But with Quinlan's ping, it's something different.
Does a lot more. And that's part of the reason I paired it with the Sabine Wren unit. I was running 3 Land Speeders a week ago, but it become evident in Top Cut when people know the Land Speeder's coming, it becomes less of a threat. Now when you play the Sabine Wren unit and the Land Speeder and they look at your list, they go, right, I either play my 2-drop first and it gets Land Speedered, or I play it second and they've got a Sabine Wren.
Yeah.
What option do I take? Both of them are nasty. One of them's going to sting me. It adds an element of surprise to how the game's going to be played.
Yeah, I mean, again, I can't stress enough to anyone that's new that plays these games, that's playing Star Wars, getting early advantage, killing units early is half the reason that people use Tarkin Town as much as they do. So, being able to get the similar sort of effect on the game state is very, very strong. But let's move on to a classic, a set 1 card, one of my favorites, Spark of Rebellion. Talk to me about this card.
Absolutely broken card. The way you got to look at Spark, again, thinking that you are someone who is competent and knows the meta, knows what everyone's playing, what cards are key to get rid of and when you're trying to do it. It's the cheapest removal in the game. which is crazy to think about. Obviously, you have force throw, but it's not guaranteed and it's techable. You can tech against it. You can't do anything into Spark of the Rebellion. If someone sparks you when you're on 9 resources and takes your Crate Dragon, they've killed your Crate Dragon for 2. That's it. And that's normally a way of deleting
not a better feeling, really, that or Avenger. Goodness
exactly
me.
that. I mean, I had a game last weekend where I had to waylay a Crate Dragon back to hand to then spark it, which is crazy. I've taken 3 damage to base, 5 resources to kill a Crate Dragon. Well, I've just basically done fell.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But
the main hope there is that you don't spark a rebellion and see 2 Crate Dragons in hand.
Which is true. But I mean, yeah, at that point, that's a tricky situation regardless, right?
Yeah.
That's why you have Kira.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah. All right, so we've got a couple more cards to go through. Just special mentions. You did a top 3 and then a couple of extra cards to talk about. Ezra Bridger, also a set 1 card, also one of my favourite cards in the game completely. Tell me about this card and how it's good in the deck.
I mean, another force unit, obviously great for force throw, but he has a way of running away with games. If he starts swinging, there's a real chance that your opponent's just going to get overwhelmed by action economy, filter. You can top deck a surprise strike, throwing a Plo Koon into 9 whilst attacking for 3, which is crazy. That's 12 damage in 1 action. That's basically unheard of. And the filter, right? Everyone loves R2, who is a 1/4 filter. Well, Ezra's a 3/4 filter on a force unit. And you get to pick how you manipulate that filter a lot better and action cheat it out, which is incredible. Top decking the Ahsoka or the Kira on curve, incredible feeling. So he is a powerhouse of a card. He's a little bit too squishy for the slot. 3/4 on the floor is a little bit small at the moment with Tarkin Town lists running around. But when he hits hard.
He's a 2 of in the deck, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
He is,
Would you say his weakness to Tarkin Town is the main sort of reason why you're at 2?
Yeah, it's, as I say, he's not smugglerable, which is why I have Cassian at 3, him at 2, and Cassian's a 3/5, which in them Tarkin Town matchups, Cassian's the best card, or at least the Quinlan mirror. And unique units that you're having to hold in hand, it's not the best to be playing 3. Smugglerable ones obviously make it a little bit different because you're playing them at different times. So yeah, the 2 drop of it did make it feel a lot better on curve in terms of the odds of seeing other things and making sure that the board was going wider than being restricted.
All right, and we have one more. Every card loses to this card.
Yeah.
Another set 1. Is it? Yeah, it is set 1. Of course it is.
It is set 1, yeah.
Waylay. How important was this in your recent tournaments?
It's so versatile, and I know it's kind of a counterintuitive card, right? I play a lot of hand rip, so putting cards back in hand feels slightly weird, but there are lots of cards that this list can't answer when they're on the field. If they hit the field, they're going to stay there. That's basically what's going to happen. Things like Crate Dragon, like big ships, any big capital ship, you don't have an answer for. This is your answer for them. And as I say, in this upgrade meta with Fallen Lightsabers running around, people stacking up experience tokens from the likes of Rey, it's a great card. It gets you a lot of value. It is an instant impact to the board. It can change you from losing a game to winning a game. It is a really good card, and it's something that I actually changed back in from my sideboard for the Shadowed Hovertank, just because of its versatility. It's just giving you way too much value game 1, 2, and 3.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for your insight into these cards, Frankie.
That's all right.
We're now just going to do a quick conclusion. Before I go for the conclusion, if anyone's playing against Quinlan and wants to beat the deck, give me 3 weaknesses within the current meta that can take this deck down, or you would be most worried about when attending a tournament.
Sure. So slightly unironically, Boba Data Vault, which is what I faced in the final. Everything I've just mentioned, right? It struggles into big ships. It's what Boba Data Vault does. It's just going to play some big ships, and they're going to sit up there. It's indirect damage, 25 HP on base. You're already way behind. They're not going to present you with an easy Tarkin Town target, so Tarkin Town kind of doesn't get as much good value. You have to work to get the value out of it. And they don't need to deploy their leader as a pilot. It's a 4/7 on the floor, and it'll do a lot of work. So it's a real tricky one, is the Boba Data Vault. Sabine ECL is also a pretty big challenge. You can normally temper them down to doing 16 to 18 damage before 5-6 resources, and then all of a sudden they're able to throw 7 damage at you from, which is unanswerable in this list. There's no restore. You have to try and keep pace, and it does come down to, do they top deck well most of the time? But it's a Sabine list. It's incredibly consistent. It can be a little bit challenging. So yeah, those two are pretty tricky, and they take a little bit of getting used to. Other than that, you feel pretty fair into everyone. The Kylo ECL lists, the Kylo lists in general, can be a little bit harder, but even then they feel winnable. Those first two are the ones where you can feel just on the back foot and a little bit withheld, but everything else feels definitely winnable.
All right, excellent. So give us a bit of a conclusion as to why you think this is the deck to play at the moment, because obviously you've played it a few times now. Why do you think it's the deck to play in the current PQ metas, and obviously the upcoming sectors that have just been announced?
Well, as we've already mentioned, its versatility is its key. There isn't a deck that's more versatile than this. It can do whatever you want it to do. It utilizes Force Throw better than any other list, and it will do because you're pairing it with other hand destruction, which just makes it stronger, right? Your ability to nitpick what you want them to Force Throw makes it better. You can change this list, and you can select and move in and out of cards from your sideboard and main board based on the meta, making it flexible to whatever is being rotated in. And at the moment, it is a week-to-week change. It's incredible how fast this meta moves. And reading the meta is super important. If you're not on the pulse, then you're going to be struggling a lot more. But yeah, yellow does hold probably the best tech cards in the game, yellow-red. In my opinion, there's lots of little tricks and little tactics you can have hidden away that they won't see coming, like Change of Heart in the sideboard. That one of my games, I Change of Heart did a Shielded Avenger. What can you do into that? It's going to be doing a lot of work.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We didn't go into the sideboard completely. So do you just want to quickly go through the other sideboard cards that you have in the deck and their main target?
Yeah, sure. So obviously Bamboozle is another upgrade hate, but also it's an answer for Luke Pilot. Luke Leader Pilot, rather. Only one that can get rid of him. So if he is getting onto a bigger unit, you need to have a way of outing that, and that's what that's there for. Same reason as why the Falcon there, the third Millennium Falcon. Now, a lot of people play 3 in the main. It's a great card, and oddly, it comes in against aggro and hard control. It's a burn card, and it's a card that's going to come out and wipe out units in space, which is great. But seeing it too early does do you harm in the mid-range matchup. You can't be playing this on curve on 3 and wanting to keep it down. It's going to come back to hand, which then doesn't represent a board threat. Hence why it's in the sideboard. Shadowed Hover Tank, it just gives you bonus points into the speed matchup. Anything that's hard aggro, it's a 5/3. Sabine can't trade it on her own, and she dies. So what an incredible card that is for that matchup. Bombing Run, no one needs to guess what that's there for. It just wins into Vader. It auto wins the Vader matchup, unless it's Vader Blue, becomes a little bit more tricky. And it's also good for some of the other space aggro lists that are flying out there at the moment. Change of Heart comes in against the control lists, especially when they're building things that soft control more so than hard control, or even people running the likes of Crate Dragons. It's normally unanswerable when you Change of Heart a big unit on the right time. If you do it at the right amount of resources with the big thing stood up, then they don't have an answer. In the final, in the game I won, I changed a party at a maul, which was exact C's for winning the game, and he had to answer it with another maul, putting him 2 cards down to my 1 for the change of heart. So it's a really unique card. And then 2 Falcons. We were expecting a lot of space this last week just gone. So they're an easy swap out for the Depper in the space games. It's another smuggle card for the cards that are playing hand rip. So it did make that slot. The other consideration there was Cham, but we don't think at the moment Cham was needing to be played. Cham feels like it can take a little bit of a backseat at the moment until the Idens and the Kiras start really coming out of the woodwork. And it just gives us up 2 extra slots to bring out the big Falcon whilst hand rip is flying around.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Frankie, for your very, very in-depth half-an-hour review of the deck. Congratulations on the success, and long may it continue. Something tells me we're going to be doing a lot more content with you, my friend. So this is,
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of good stuff coming. And with that being said, guys, you can like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. We are very close to 1,000. When we get to 1,000, we've got some really big news to bring to you. So go hit that like, subscribe, and hit the bell button if you want to get more notifications for our content. But yeah, that's about it for today, guys. So another big thank you to Frankie. And yeah, if you've got any last words, any shout outs, Frankie, before we move, let's hear it.
Any shout outs? Obviously, everyone at Nexus doing a great job. Channel's great. And we are looking forward to bringing the team out and beating up some of the more well-known teams out there. Shout out to Team Enigma. But yeah, all I'd say is just keep playing. Yeah, sorry. Play what you want to play. Play what you enjoy playing, and you're more likely to see results. But this is a list. It's really good. If you want to pick it up, go for it, and you will probably see results.
Yeah, couldn't be a better word spoken. Always playing what you enjoy will enhance that enthusiasm, and you will normally get better results in the end, guys. But yeah, Quinlan Vos, hell of a deck. Go make a dent at your locals, guys, and potentially take it to one of these bigger events coming up. But that is all for us here at the Nexus, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.